Everybody could take a seat. I would suggest, based on the first meeting, my guess is the people in the right corner and towards the back are going to have a little difficulty hearing me. You can hear me. Art, you can hear me. Okay, good. Okay, I'm called to order general membership meeting of the Adjunct Faculty Association at Nassau Community College. To get started, I want to do some introductions. The first group that I'm going to introduce, people who are working on various committees within the organization. Some of these people were here at the first meeting, so they might not stand up when I call their name because they're not here. First person I'd like to introduce is Art Friedman, Constitutional Bylaws Committee. We're in the process of revamping the Constitution and the bylaws. Second committee member that I'd like to introduce, and I know he's not here, Reuben Friedman of the Scholarship Committee. And one of the reasons we're having two meetings and we're videotaping meetings is there's so many people who just couldn't be here. So the idea is to give them an opportunity to listen to the discourse because the videotape is going to be made available. And I see Rich Urban looking at me. He wants me to make this announcement. This meeting is being videotaped in its entirety and will be distributed to all AFA members. Okay? And you can understand the reason for that. We're looking to be more inclusive, get the message out to more people. There are people who just couldn't be here today. And there are people who are teaching, who could come to the first meeting, not the second meeting, and vice versa. So that's why we're doing two meetings. Rose Tavidian, she's in the back. Elections Committee Chairperson and provider of coffee, tea, buns, cookies, and other variety of edibles, baked goods. Grievance Committee Chair, Gary Olette. Felicia, you still here? Okay, she's in the back. She's waving at you. Felicia Blackman, she's our new administrative assistant. As I walked around the campus looking for people to sign my nominations petition back when I was running for office, and by the way, I got 175 signatures because I want to make sure that I would be eligible to run. I heard from a lot of you, and one of the kinds of things that many of you spoke about was getting the AFA office open. So we have regular hours. They're posted on the front door. They be posted on our website, and that's basically it. And Felicia is womaning the office, and she's doing a great job. Another committee chairperson is Margaret Renner. Margaret, I'm going to ask you to come up during new business, and there's a reason for it. It has to do with Robert's rules. Okay, thank you. Executive Board, Ken Belfour from the library. Bellafiore, sorry. Chris Enright, chemistry. Bob Feminella, biology. Barbara Gregorio, Accounting and Business Administration. She's in the back. Frank Nappy Jr., Math, Computer Science, and Information Technology. Gary Willett, Music. And Ruth Silverman, Sociology, Human Resources, and Anthropology. Officers. Well, I'm Stephen Krompier. I'm your president. Vice President Scott Stark. Recording Secretary Christine Callinger Allen. Financial Secretary Neil McClellan. Acting Treasurer Jean Decker. We have a new office. It's not an elected officer. It's an appointed officer by myself upon the advice and consent of the executive board. It's our new Chief Information Officer, Richard Urban. I know he left, so I do not have to worry about mispronouncing his name. Our new Vanguard editor, Paul Guadagnino. Okay. I also would like a round of applause for your hardworking department representatives. Your negotiating team. I headed up the negotiating team. First member was Scott Stark. He was our math and statistics guy. He was the fellow who could look at and interpret a spreadsheet quickly. When it got down to the nitty-gritty of the negotiations, Scott was our man. Robert Feminella. He was on the negotiations committee because he's an experienced negotiator, a former business owner. And one of the kinds of things that he brought to the table, which we didn't know or we didn't expect, he has an ability to read body language. And some of the times it was kind of necessary when we caucused to get some idea of what the other side was thinking and what they might be feeling. And Bob's ability to look, to read the body language, and to give us a sense was a real important part of the negotiation process. Robert Gaudino, former vice president of the AFA. He was our link with past negotiations. He had a sense of what went on at the tables that preceded us. He could give us an idea of what it was that we negotiated for in the past and why it was important and how it was done. And he also gave us some ideas of what we might start thinking about, because, ladies and gentlemen, this was negotiations. It wasn't a situation where we entered a room, asked for the sky, and got it. And Bob was very helpful in helping us, being a part of determining what we might, for lack of a better term, give back. Richard Urban. Most of you know Richard. You look at the Vanguard and the input that he's had there. You look at the website. You're going to look at voting. We have voting rolls that we've put together electronically, and so much more. So for that alone, Richard has been invaluable. His common sense approach, his thumb on the pulse of what the adjunct faculty wanted and was interested in, his knowledge of the players sitting on the opposite side of the table was extremely important to what we believe was a successful negotiation process. Last but certainly not least, and he's not here today, Richard Bethel, our labor lawyer. Richard's a partner in the law firm Pryor Cashman. His knowledge of our contract, of labor law, particularly the Taylor law, was invaluable. Richard's ability to assert our position at the table in a concise, articulate, understandable way, along with his ability to counter the college's lawyer, played a pivotal role in the contract, the memorandum of agreement that we will distribute to you in a little while. I want to thank the negotiating team and give them the round of applause that they deserve. Okay, a little background. I came into office January 1st. We all understand that there was a strike in September of 2013. We all know that, and we understand it. We also know that there was a penalty, a punishment that came down from PERD. We lost our right to collect dues for a 7-month period via the college taking it out of our paychecks. What that meant was both members and agency fee payers needed to pay their dues directly. I'll tell you now, we took a big hit financially. And when you see the financial statements, which are in the process of being completed, you'll see that hit on the financial statements. You guys know about that. What most of you don't know is a result of striking, and it wasn't a punishment that just our union would receive. It's a punishment that any union who strikes in violation of the Taylor law would receive. You guys know that we negotiated, our contract had ended. Our contract ended back in 2010. But that contract continued to stay in force. So basically, what do I mean? Well, when you got courses, the seniority process was in place. Grievance procedure. If in fact you did have a grievance, the grievance procedure was in effect. Your right to a job in effect. In other words, they couldn't just appoint somebody else. Say, hey, look, I got a friend, a brother-in-law, an aunt. She knows accounting because she took Math 1 in high school. We're going to give that person your job. You have job protection. The contract was still in force. However, because we struck, we lost the right to go to court and challenge any unilateral violation of the contract. By unilateral, I mean, I'll give you an example. If the college wanted to suspend or not abide by the seniority process, they could have, because we lost the right to go to court and challenge that. If they wanted to change or adjust the grievance procedure and do it their way, they could have, because we lost the right to go to court and challenge that. So there we were, the night prior to negotiations, understanding how vulnerable we were. There we were, ready to negotiate, and we were hit by a major snowstorm. The college was closed. The drifts were rising. It took us from January 1st to March 6th to get the first date for negotiations. Not because the other side was trying to prolong. They weren't. It was just, it took that long to find dates that we were all available. Prior to negotiations, I met with Dr. Garden, the chairman of the Board of Trustees, on at least 3 occasions. I met with Acting President Saunders on 4 occasions. I met with a whole litany of county legislators. Why? Because I wanted them to get a sense of who I was, who we are, and have them understand that for us it was a new day. We were looking to do things a new way. I was clear that were certain pieces in the contract that we would not negotiate. Some of those were the seniority process, release time, the grievance procedure, our basic right to our jobs, not negotiable. And I helped them to understand the value that they were getting from the adjuncts at Nassau, and a major reason for the value that our students and the college gets such a return from you is that we have a good contract. People, teachers from all over this area, when they're looking for a job, want to come to Nassau. Take a look at the credentials, our credentials, and you'll understand who we are and what we do for the college. And they understood that. And we built over that period of time from January 1st to March 6th an amicable relationship. So here we are on March 6th. It's snowing. Both sides absolutely wanted to negotiate. There was no question. So we all sat at a table. It started at 4 o'clock. The drifts were rising, and we began negotiating. In one night, we got a contract. One night. If you want to read the process, read about the process. It's in the article that I wrote in the present issue of the Vanguard. Little bit about negotiations. These were not new negotiations. These negotiations had started, I would guess, before 2010 when our contract ran out. There was very little left on the table except the nuts and the bolts of the contract that we were looking to get. It was not the time to introduce new items, but we did. Both of these items you're going to see in the memorandum of agreement when we hand it out. One item has to do with the nurses. During my travels around campus, I found out from the nurses that they do work, preclinical work in hospitals, and they do not get paid for it. The full-timers do. We put it in, needed no negotiation. Why? Because in my earlier talks with Dr. Garden, he understood the situation, he understood what was fair, so when we introduced it, it was a no-brainer, it was going to be included. The second piece was not so easy. It had to do with the Wright Center. We actually have 2 locations for the Wright Center on campus. 18 adjuncts who man the Wright Center or woman the Wright Center. And essentially it's a place for students to come to improve their writing, to work on their projects, and so forth and so on. The NCCFT had a new contract. And I won't get into the specifics why, but English teachers were required to go to 4 places, something that they were never required to do as part of their job, and one of the places was the Wright Center. Lillian Pollock, who's sitting out there, had contacted me. I actually had been contacted before she contacted me, and she laid out the situation. The question was, will these English teachers be supplementing what our Writing Center adjuncts do, or will they be in place of? Will they be taking their jobs? Brought that up, and the other side was quiet. They didn't even respond. That said volumes. We let it drop. 7 hours later, 6.5 hours later, we had a contract. Everybody was happy. We were shaking hands. Most of us couldn't believe that we got a contract in one night. And that's when I said to Garden, I said, I have a pit in my stomach. I can't sign this contract. He looked at me, startled. I said, you have to do something for the adjuncts in the Wright Center. I said, it's very little money, next to nothing as compared to the college's budget. These people have been around for a long time. They know their job. They do it well. You want to talk about retention? That's something important? Well, these people do an awful lot to retain students because they establish relationships with their students. Gardner looked at me. He said, we have to caucus. He came back, and we had an agreement. It's not a perfect agreement, but what we were able to guarantee was hours for the adjuncts who work in the Wright Centers. The guarantee was that they would be maintained as they are now. So during the fall semester, adjuncts will be given 205 hours a week. That's what they get now. During the spring semester, 195 a week. Also put in the contract was that if enrollment goes up, the hours for the adjuncts will go up. If enrollment goes down, at the percentage that enrollment goes up. If enrollment goes down, the percentage of the hours would be cut by that percentage. It's not perfect, but we know that it assured most of those jobs. There is a glitch, and I'm sure somebody from the Writing Center will bring it up when we do the question and answer period. Okay. So here we are, we have a contract. I'm going to ask in a second for our executive board to hand out the memorandum of agreement so you can read to what we agreed to. But before we do this, this isn't in the memorandum of agreement. We re-established everything except one little piece was adjusted in the old contract. We now have the seniority process for assigning classes. We have that again. We have the grievance procedure. We're getting paid the release time money that we got in previous contracts. You read the old contract, that's the new contract, except for the couple of additions that we introduced. There is a piece about the brush-up courses that was changed. And if anybody wants to ask about that after you read the memorandum of agreement, come up and ask. That's why we have that microphone over there. So I'm going to ask my friends to the right to hand out the memorandum of agreement. Okay. I forgot one thing. Okay. I'm going to ask Rich Urban to come up and talk about two things. One thing is the new election process, and I'm also going to ask him to mention some of the kinds of things he's been doing to connect us with you and you with us, so we really do understand what it is you want from us, what you want us to do. So I'm going to ask Rich to come up. Okay. Thanks, Rich.
Good morning, everyone. I just want to thank a couple of people before I begin, and from the facilities office, Pat Chiodo, who arranged for this room today and the setup. And up in our control booth this morning from Audiovisual, Rob Bradshaw. So I also want to speak for 1 second about someone, and I'm talking to you as an AFA member at this point. And I've been in several unions over the past 3 decades, and I've worked with many union officials and leaders. And I have to tell you, I have never seen a commitment to the membership that Steph Crompier has exhibited. I can tell you that one of the first things I do in the morning is check my phone, because it's not uncommon to get a text or an email from Steph during the night with him thinking of a member that has a concern and how to best handle that. We are truly lucky to have this gentleman leading our union. Okay, we've done a lot in terms of communication here. One thing is we have our own private union list. So you will see very little coming from all AFA or all part-time faculty. We don't use that any longer. We have our own list set up. The sender will say NCC AFA. When you see that, that's coming from the union, and we do all of our communication practically via email. It's very important that you check that email all the time to make sure that you're getting the announcements, ballots, etc. We will send it to your email address on file. Most of you, it'll be your NCC email address. Whoever gave us personal email addresses, that's where the announcements will be going. If it's in your junk folder, please mark it as not junk, because you'll be getting ballots and many different important announcements. Our website, myafaonline.org, has been created with transparency in mind. It has all of our documents, nominating petitions. Everything is up there. I encourage you to join the group. We have a private group on there. You go to AFA Forum and sign up. The MOA will be published on that group for all to see who are signed up, registered members. Take a look at it. There's a lot. Please like us on Facebook. We have a Facebook link there as well. We have a lot going on, and one of the things that's taking place, a big one, is an election for the treasurer position. What I want to tell anyone who's a candidate and those who will be watching this video as we send it out to them, make sure when you have your petition signed that the person prints their name legibly. If it's not legible and we can't decipher who it is, that signature will be invalidated. Very important. What we're doing here today, as Steph had mentioned, we're videotaping the meeting. We're going to send it out to all AFA members so that they can watch it. For those that couldn't be here, and for you, you'll be receiving it as well if you want to review what has taken place. The executive board has unanimously approved sending out the election, both for the treasurer as well as this ratification vote, to a neutral, recognized third-party election company called Election Buddy. They will email to you a ballot, a unique ballot which is key-coded so no one can vote twice. We ran a test election. I tried everything. I used virtual browsers, different IPs. You cannot vote twice. It is anonymous. The key coding is simply in the ballot so that once the ballot is activated, the vote is cast, you will not be able to vote a second time. This company will tabulate the votes and the decisions will come to us. In the case of the treasurer's election, we will invite the candidates who are running to office to witness the election results with us for the first time. One thing now about eligibility. Voter eligibility is one part of the job that I undertake that is of most importance. People have the right to know their status. Are they an AFA member or not? Are they in arrears? What is their status? We take the voter eligibility right from the Constitution, specifically Article 5, Section 6. You must be an AFA member, and an AFA member who is not in arrears. And then you must meet at least one of the following items: working at the time of the election, on release time, on special assignment for the union, and from the recently approved Voter Rights Expansion Amendment, have worked at least 2 semesters in the previous academic year. So right now that would mean the 2013-14 academic year. And the semester is defined as fall, winter, spring, and summer. The last caveat to this would be if you have recently joined as an AFA member and you are an agency fee member, you must wait 30 days to become a voting AFA member. And if you have paid your dues in arrears, it's the same situation, 30 days from the date of payment, and then you'll be able to vote. Thank you very much.
Okay, Margaret Renner, I know you're here. Margaret, oh, there she is. Come on up. Margaret is chairperson of the retirement committee, and she has some important information for you.
How is it now? Better? Okay. I'd like to remind everybody that we have a seminar scheduled on May 14th in this building, room 251, from 5 to 7. And many people have subscribed, so now we are filled. However, that does not mean I will not get a few cancellations. So if you would like to attend, please give me your name and number and the vital information I need to contact you at the last minute so that you can attend. I will stay after the meeting if you have personal questions that you want to ask regarding your situation. Another thing I would like to say, due to the fact that there have been some questions about the full-time contract, I have sent to Winifred Nelson in Albany a list of questions that she might expect from our full-time people, and she has been willing to referee them in Albany and come back with answers. So we should have that information ready for you on Thursday, May 14th from 5 to 7. Thank you very much, Steph.
You're welcome. Just to give you some information on our finances, it's come from Jean Decker, our acting treasurer. As of now, our checking account, we have $137,187.73. Our bank balance is $174,511.40. The difference, the reason for the difference is outstanding checks. Our bank balance is higher because the outstanding checks have not come back, thus being factored into the checking balance. So that's our financial situation. I have to apologize, and I was reminded of this by our Constitution guy, Art. I'm kind of deviating from this, from our agenda. And the reason for it is that this is a general membership meeting. The first meeting we had was a special membership meeting, and we had to have two different types of meetings, particularly to comply with the Constitution. With that said, the organization of this of the agenda, the first agenda, was different. So I'm kind of skipping around because in my head I have the first agenda, and in front of me I have the second agenda, and Art Friedman's laughing at me. I'll get you back. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to hand out the memorandum of agreement, read it, come up, the microphone's there, ask questions, and again I'll remind you, we reestablished the old contract, the former contract. So that's not in the memorandum of agreement. Everything that we had in the former contract is in the new contract. These are additions. While the memorandum is being distributed, Art's going to do a report from the Constitution and Bylaws Committee.
Thank you. The Constitution and Bylaws Revision Committee, I've been chairing it with the very able assistance of Bill Pecorino, Gerald Schaffman, our Vice President, Scott Stark, and the President. One of the first things we looked at is the objectives of this association. And we have put through a major revision because the original Constitution and bylaws that are working for us are talking to us as if we're still a member of NYSUD and AFT and have a different focus. So we've done a major revision of that aspect. We've also done some work to take out the sexist language within that Constitution and move it something that really should appeal to the membership further. We've heard a little bit about membership already, and while there were some changes made to the membership provisions in the Constitution changes that took place in the fall, we are not satisfied with that, and we are going to be proposing 3 classifications of membership: regular membership, associate membership, and affiliate membership, so that it really should take better care of the people who are involved in this association. It's a major piece of work. We have been going to be sending it to the Executive Board, which must endorse it, and then send it on to the Representative Assembly before it can go to the membership. We're going to ask that the pieces of it be voted on in an ad seriatim manner so that people can look at each set of provisions and make some determinations, as well as approving the entire document in its entirety. If any of you have been looking at the Constitution and see areas that you think we better take a quick look at, please feel free to send me an email or call me up. You can find me in the library. My email address is simply author.friedman@ncc.edu. We've done this major work. We've also been busy doing the work for the bylaws, but the bylaw revisions can't go into effect or be even endorsed by the Representative Assembly until the contract has been approved. So that is the principles that we're working under. And once again, I'd like to thank the members of my committee because I think we've done it's been an interesting process and we've been very able to work collectively. Thank you.
And again, just to reiterate, the process is the committee makes recommendations. The executive board looks at those recommendations. We can accept them all. We can accept some of them. I believe we're going to accept at least most of them. It goes to the Representative Assembly. The Representative Assembly approves them. They will go to you. And for a piece, a part, a section, words to be changed, it requires a 2/3 vote of the electorate. Okay, with that said, you have the memorandum of agreement in front of you. If you have any questions, come to the microphone and we will be happy to entertain them.
Staff, will you explain F on page 6? There are several people that have questions, and I thought that it would be clear because you did a clear job for the first session.
Okay, this has to do with us not imposing a permanent injunction. Well, it's a temporary injunction now. We're not going to oppose it becoming a permanent injunction. This is what the injunction says. The injunction says that we can't strike. It was an injunction that was gotten in conjunction with the strike as per the Taylor Law and the Taylor Law options that were open to the college. So what this injunction says is that we cannot strike, and it also says we can't strike throughout the next contract. It's kind of irrelevant in the sense that we can't strike during the next contract because the Taylor Law tells us that we can't. Okay? So the bottom line of it is it's in here. To oppose it wouldn't make much sense. It would cost us money in legal fees. So we've agreed to let the permanent injunction be entered.
Hello. I've read through the contract. I think you did a great job. I'm a little bit surprised by the reading. I'm in the Reading and Basic Ed department, and I'm concerned that the Reading and Basic Ed department has kind of been singled out for the department to give back on the brush-ups. I'm not sure why the rate is different for English and reading. So could you explain why the rate is different and why the reading department has been singled out for this give back?
Scott?
With the brush-up courses, what the college wanted in negotiations, if you recall, a number of years ago they paid it at a flat rate, not through our contract. They wanted to go back to those rates. The rates were somewhat prorated to the adjunct faculty rates, based on how often they meet. The math courses meet for, I believe, an hour and a half more than the reading classes. So they wanted the numbers, I believe, were 700 forgive me that I don't remember the exact numbers, but 700 for a reading class and 900 for math and change. And they wanted that to be a flat rate for the length of the contract. Understanding we were negotiating and there were things that, we weren't going to get everything. We started off by asking for 6% a year for every year, so we obviously weren't going to get that. But we were able to get this as a percent, as a portion of a contact hour. The 0.52 and the 0.63 is basically what it worked out to that they wanted to offer. But this made it compounded with the raises that do come for the 4 years that we got raises. So believe me, it wasn't singling out, it was singling out math and reading because those are the only two brush-up classes. But the college wanted to be just a flat rate. And yeah, it was something we gave back in negotiations, but not in singling out. And would we have liked it to have been more? Absolutely. Was it going to happen? I don't think so at the end. It was something we had to give back. But again, it wasn't singling out any department other than the fact that math and reading are the two brush-up courses we offer.
Absolutely. If there was a brush-up course in mortuary science, that was a joke. I'm embarrassing my department again, okay. If there was a brush-up course in some other department, the negotiations would have gone exactly the same way. We had to make an accommodation there. Okay. Anybody else?
I just want a clarification. I'm one of the tutors in the Writing Center, and I want to know whether that 202 hours means that we have seniority within that 2 hours.
Absolutely.
That is still intact.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
And there's some question, and it took from March 6th to yesterday at 2 o'clock to get the memorandum of agreement signed. Language was really important.
Yes.
Initially, there was a thought of just putting the names of the people who were working in the Writing Center into the contract, and they would be guaranteed their hours. But we couldn't do that and didn't want to do it because there were some people on the seniority list who were higher up than some of the people who were working, and they might look to want to come back and work. So absolutely, the seniority list will be applied, and the hours will be divided up as they are now.
By the adjuncts.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to tell you something else we try to do with these jobs, okay? One of the kinds of things that the Writing Center people were worried about was that people who were working early during the day, with the new contract, the English people coming down, that they're going to be asked to work in the evening or at night. And for some people, that's tough. That's hard to do. Some people, it could mean that they're going to have to give up their job. This is what we tried to do. About a week ago, when we submitted our memorandum, our version of what the memorandum of agreement was, I stuck something in there. And it said that the adjunct faculty would be assigned their hours first. I knew what was going to happen, but I wanted to make the attempt. And when I sat down with Gordon, I wanted to deliver a particular message to him. So what ended up happening was the lawyer from the other side stopped jumping up and down. He was angry. And he had a right to be. So I met with Gordon, and Gordon presented it this way to me. He said, the way the contract goes now, our contract with the NCCFT is assigned hours first, and then with the courses that are left over, in the full-time load, then the adjuncts get those courses. And of course, adjunct hours we get first choice after 5:30. And so Garden said, if we put this in, we're going to get a grievance from the full-timers because we're violating their contract. And this is what I said to him. I said two things. I said, what I hope you would do is when you assign these courses, and we'll stay on it, what I hope you would do, what I would like you to do, what I would expect you to do, is to look at both lists at the same time. And in doing that, try to accommodate the people who work in the Writing Center, who work early. If they want those hours, try to give it to them. The other thing I said was, we don't believe these are courses, we believe these are hours. So we don't believe that the NCC first piece to the contract is applicable here. So, we don't see some fairness here, we will grieve. And that's the way we left it, and that was the best that we could get with that. Considering that there was nothing on the table, considering their silence when we first brought it up, meant they had some other intentions in terms of these jobs, I think we did the best we could. And I want to thank Lillian Pollack for, coming to our meeting and presenting this to us. Thank you. Okay.
Good morning. First of all, thank you for your perseverance and your commitment to the AFA. I just have a concern. When we do receive our monies, how will we receive that? Will it be broken down so that we don't lose it in taxes? And some of us can only earn $30,000, so if it does get sheltered, it counts against us, and we're just going to be giving it back. So how will we receive that money?
You're talking about the money from September till now?
Right.
Okay. It's our belief that you'll get a check, and you'll get a check, and you'll get it this year, and it'll be applicable to this year's taxes.
So some of us might end up not even really getting any money, because if we go over that 30,000 mark, we're going to give it right. We have to give it back.
This is what I would ask you to do. See me after the meeting. Let me become aware of the implications of what you're saying, and let's see what we can do to give you what you need.
Okay, because
Okay.
anyone that's under 65 and earns 30,000 and 1 cent, you have to give that. It goes against your pension.
So that doesn't apply to you.
Yes, it does.
That was a joke again. I don't think you're over 65.
No, I'm 65 and under.
Oh, okay.
Telling jokes. No more jokes, Mr. President.
Okay.
Check
See
who I
me
voted
after the
for.
meeting.
You got it.
See me after the meeting, and we'll figure out what we can do. Tell them that it's a joke first. All right. Sorry. Anybody else? Okay.
Just a point of information. The ratification vote for this contract will be taking place also electronically. Look for an email from Election Buddy, and that will be coming out in the upcoming week.
Okay, if you notice, part of the agenda is for good of the order. And essentially, we kind of added this to the agenda when we got into office. And what this is, generally, or you need to stick to the agenda, the items on the agenda, and discuss them old business, new business. You can, and this is what we added, and it's true here, it's true at the RA meetings, and it's true at the executive board meetings. For the good of the order means that any topic can be brought up, even those not on the agenda, and we can address them. So now we're moving away, and by the way, we strongly recommend that you approve, that you vote for this contract. We don't believe that we could have gotten any more. Okay? So now we're moving for the good of the order. Is there anything else that anybody wants to ask about, talk about?
Hi, my name is Angela Danzy from Sociology. you've done a marvelous job. I think everybody feels wonderful that we have a functioning and competent union for us. There was some talk about trying to fully reimburse those of us who were fined because we participated in the strike in September 2013. You've done so much already, but I'm just wondering if that's still something that's being discussed and if that's a possibility.
Okay. I'd rather answer that question after the meeting. Anybody who's an interest in the answer to the question, and it has to do with the people who struck have already gotten half of their fine back, and the question is whether or not we will be of the mood to return the rest of it. I'd rather talk about it after the meeting, and I can't say any more. Anybody who wants the answer or wants to talk about it, see me after the meeting. Okay. Anything else?
I have a question. I'm Roseanne Scarpelli from Marketing and Interior Design. It's a little bit of an issue. I don't know about other departments, but with both unions, that chairs are part of the bargaining unit. Is there any way that that could be part of the contract? Because if they're acting as administrators, I don't think they should be part of the bargaining unit. I don't know if I'm thinking this way alone, but I have an issue with that.
Do you want to address that, Art?
Part of it I can address as a former chair of the library going back many, many years ago. The chair of the library was a faculty position and not an administrative position when the college tried to make them administrators, and the people didn't want to be administrators. The chair of a department is supposed to act as first among equals. Okay? If they're not working as first among equals, then as a faculty we have a responsibility to remove them from that position. And since we do have elections for that, that takes place. With respect to the adjunct contract, there is no place in the contract that I know of that makes them a member from that standpoint. They have a supervisory role for the assignment of adjuncts, but they are not in that other kind of position.
Scott? Rich?
Such a change as that actually comes from the Constitution and not the contract. So that would have to be an amendment to the Constitution, which states anyone who has achieved dean or higher is ineligible to be a member. So it's part of the AFA Constitution. That would require a change in the Constitution. It would have to go through the Constitution Committee.
The chairs aren't addressed in the Constitution at all. In fact, one of the things that we looked at when we saw another piece of it had to do with, years ago, evening supervision had area coordinators and evening supervisors who were appointed by the administration. That doesn't take place anymore. So we are looking to eliminate some of those activities. But the assignment of hours is done by the chair in conjunction with the department representative, who's supposed to make sure that the seniority rules and any other rules that we have in place are taking place. And as I said, if they're not doing that, then it behooves us to get rid of the person as a chairperson because they're not doing the job that they should be doing for us as a faculty.
Department rep for the marketing department, Angela Bruno. The past January, as well as in the fall, I was not asked, nor did I have the privilege of sitting with the chair in the assignments. So I was a little apprehensive as to how to deal with that. So perhaps you could tell me how to deal with that.
Again, we'll talk to you after the meeting, not because we want to hide anything, but it's real specific, and we want to make sure we give you our best answer. Okay? Is that okay, Angela? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Hi, Ruth. How you doing? Ruth Silverman, I'm just saying hi. That's not Ruth Silverman? Okay. Ruth, could I get a motion to adjourn? Okay. No. I'm sorry. Just say, I make a motion to adjourn the meeting. We have a second. All in favor? Thank you very much. I hope I didn't annoy you too much.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I apologize for President Crompier's jokes.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Seth did a good job.
Thank you.
Really,
Thank
really
you.
good.
Yeah, you guys are great. I mean, you make it easy for me because you have all the answers because we're doing it the right way.
Exactly.
You know,
Makes a
we're
big
doing-
difference. Makes a big difference.
I did. I worked a lot on it, and the problem was I had a transition, and I did a great job transitioning from the one to the other. There was somebody who had a question that I said that I would rather answer after the meeting.